In the headlines, Apapa Labour Party faction calls for arrest of Obi, Abure, others over interim national government calls. Vice President-elect Shettima meets elected APC lawmakers over zoning, warns against Rancor. Adamawa police arrest couple for brutalizing 11-year-old boy left in their care after the death of his father. And from the international scene, Sudan talks to resume amid heavy fighting. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thank you for joining us. Now the news in full. The High Court of the FCT has assumed jurisdiction in the suit filed by Yomi Arabambi, the Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, loyal to the party's suspended Deputy National Chairman Lamidi Apapa and 7 others against the National Chairman Julius Abure and 3 others. Justice Hamza Muazu stated this on Friday while ruling on the preliminary objection filed by Abure and the National Secretary Farouk Umar Ibrahim, challenging the jurisdiction of the court to entertain the matter. The suit is based on the other restraining Abure and Ibrahim, National Organizing Secretary Oluchi Opara and National Treasurer Clement Ojoku from parading themselves as leaders of the Labour Party. The other is pending the hearing of a suit seeking, among others, their sack over allegations of forged court documents, including receipts and the seal of the FCT High Court, which they were said to have used in the substitution of LP's candidates in the 2023 general elections. At Friday's hearing of the matter, slated for ruling on a preliminary objection on jurisdiction of the court to hear the matter, Justice Muazu Hamza, in a short ruling, held that the court had jurisdiction to hear the matter. The judge said that the plaintiffs were right to bring the matter by originating summons, adding that the matter is justifiable to be heard. He then adjourned the case to May 17th for hearing on the substantive suit, saying Abure and 3 others remained suspended pending the outcome of the suit. Meanwhile, the Lamidi Apapa faction of the Labour Party has called on the military to arrest the presidential candidate of the party in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi, and any other person moving and clamoring to stop the transition process and the inauguration of the president-elect Bola Tinubu on May 29, 2023. The National Publicity Secretary of the Apapa faction, Abayomi Arabambi, disclosed this to journalists in Abuja after the FCT High Court reaffirmed Lamidi Apapa as acting chairman. Arabambi also stated that if the party's legal team at the Election Petition Tribunal in Abuja failed to meet the factional chairman to brief him on the legal proceeding within 48 hours, they would appoint new lawyers to represent the party at the tribunal.
For him or any other one calling for interim administration, we are calling on the Inspector General of Police to arrest all of them because nobody is above the law. You cannot plunge Nigeria to war and you say you want to rule that country. We, Labour Party, we are saying capital no to such evil call by Peter Obi that Bola Tinubu should not be sworn in. Like just we have said, anyone henceforth calling for establishment of interim administration, treating fire and peace in Nigeria, threatening the peace of Nigeria, conducting themselves, in a manner that is likely to call breach of peace, they should be arrested. They are just a bunch of thugs who want to, use Labour Party cover to call mayhem in Nigeria. And I am telling Nigeria today, I am telling the Inspector General of Police with due respect, I am telling the Director General of SSS with due respect that they are not members of the Labour Party. If anyone call for a certain interim administration, including Peter Obi, they should be arrested.
The Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima has warned against the consequences of having a rancorous National Assembly, as it will stain the relationship between the legislature and executive and deny the people dividends of democracy. Shettima gave the warning during a meeting with the Speaker and Deputy Speaker aspirants Tajuddin Abbas and Benjamin Kalu in Abuja. The meeting was at the instance of the Joint Task Group of the 10th House, comprising members of all political parties with members-elect into the Green Chamber at the February 25th general election. Addressing the lawmakers, numbering over 100, Shettima said former President Goodluck Jonathan lost the 2015 election as a result of a rancorous House following the emergence of Aminu Tambuwal as Speaker of the House against his party's wish, warning that a similar fate could befall the APC if the agitations are not properly handled. The endorsed speakership candidate, Abbas, expressed gratitude to the president-elect and his vice and assured of a harmonious legislative and executive relationship for the progress of the country.
Given the current circumstances we found ourselves in, the stability of the nation is much more important than all other considerations. The most incompetent, the most corrupt Southern Christian is better than the most puritanical and competent Northern Muslim to be the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. All other considerations have to be relegated to the background. Because we are talking of the stability of the nation.
We are very grateful to you, to Mr. President-elect, and to the party for finding us worthy of this enormous leadership. And I want to assure you that we will not disappoint the party, we will not disappoint you, we will discharge our responsibilities with utmost efficiency.
We decided to show that unifying the nation will inspire national loyalty from all corners of the nation. And you remember Southeast, and you said, granted, before now, no Southeasterner was in the presiding officer's position the last 4 years. But this time, irrespective of the number of votes that came from Southeast, the party considered cohesion.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Idris Wase, has declared for the lower lawmaking body's speakership position. Wase, who formally declared his intention for the position at an event in Abuja on Friday, also reeled out his experience to lead the House of Representatives if elected. The lawmaker representing Wase Federal Constituency said on several occasions he had sacrificed for the National Assembly and the country by dropping his leadership ambitions. At this ceremony, which was attended by his supporters and some members of the ruling All Progressive Congress APC, the lawmaker urged Nigerians to unite and work together for the betterment of the country. His declaration is coming days after the APC zoned the National Assembly leadership post, picking Godswill Akpabio and Tajuddin Abbas as Senate President and House of Representatives Speaker, respectively. And now in the security matters, Adamawa State Police Command has rescued an 11-year-old orphan, Fahad Abdul Karim, from intense torture in the hands of his guardians. In a statement by the Public Relations Officer of the State Police Command, Suleiman Nguroje, the police said that the orphan was placed under the care of the guardians as a result of the death of his father. He disclosed the names of the alleged torturers as Kamal Idris, 24, and Ambasiya Idris, 19, all residents of Wurojembe, Yola South local government area. According to the police spokesman, the couple have been frequently and willfully torturing the little child, as a result of which he sustained grievous bodily injury. The command explained that upon receiving the report, it swung into action, rescued the child, and rushed him to the hospital, where he is currently receiving treatment. Meanwhile, the Oyo State Police Command says its dragnet has captured 4 suspects fingered in the gruesome murder of one of its officers, Assistant Superintendent Olufemi Daniels, who met his untimely death with a gang of robbers, stormed his Oriagogo Odona residence and killed him. Public Relations Officer of the command, Adewale Osifeso, who disclosed this to newsmen at the force headquarters, Eleyele, Ibadan. Osifeso stressed that the arrest of the murder suspect was predicated on the determination by security agents to put a permanent stop to cases of crime and criminality in the Oriagogo Odona Kekere axis of the Ibadan metropolis.
Assistant Superintendent Ogunleye Olufemi Daniel, serving at the state CID Yagoku, and who was a resident in the community, was killed by the assailants, having robbed him and other members of his family. Thus, the case was transferred from Idiaire Police Divisional Headquarters to the State Criminal Investigation Department, Yagoku, for further in-depth investigation. Consequently, detectives from the State Criminal Investigation Department Anti-Robbery Section immediately swung into action and tracked the suspects using a mobile phone found at the scene of the crime. 3 suspects, including their spiritual healer, one Gabriel Adeniyi, male, 80 years old, Oyetumbi Ademola, male, 25 years old, Michael Adeniyi, male, 26, were arrested, while their gang leader, one Fatai Fasasi, male, 30, now deceased, popularly known as Ogun, was allegedly neutralized during an encounter with police operatives during the trail. Preliminary investigation also has it that this same Fatai Fasasi was the one that pulled the trigger that ended the life of Assistant Superintendent of Police Ogunleye Olufemi Daniel prematurely.
Police in Kwara State have arrested a medical doctor, Ayodele Joseph, for allegedly raping a patient after sedation in Ilorin. The victim, a nurse, was said to have set up a recording for her proposed surgery, only to discover through the recording that she was raped after she became unconscious. Briefing newsmen at the police command, Commissioner of Police Paul Odama disclosed that the claim was corroborated by a medical examination on the victim. The accused, Dr. Ayodele Joseph, claimed that the victim was his girlfriend for 8 years. He described the incident as a setup by the victim to extort money from him.
Before the sedation, fearing any mishap, the patient activated her telephone and placed in a vantage position to record the surgery unknown to the doctor before the expected surgery. She woke up from sleep after the surgery to find herself fully naked. And when reviewing the recorded video, she discovered that the said Dr. Ayodele Joseph had an unlawful sexual intercourse with her while she was under sedation and unconscious. Investigation led to the recovery of the video recording of the sexual action of the said doctor on the victim, which was also corroborated by the medical examination conducted on the victim.
The allegation is not true at all, because the lady set me up, and the lady is in a position to now wanting to confess. And by the time I bring the letter, the lady wrote, because he is collecting ransom. He is doing that to collect ransom from us. She has collected close to 500,000 naira from us. So definitely is a kind of a setup to try and collect ransom. How could you imagine someone of that nature that I train? I'm the one that trained him to become a nurse. I trained her to become a nurse. I sponsor her to go to one school of nursing in Lagos. So she graduated from that school of nursing, came back to me, employed her, working with me. And the only thing that looked shady there is the fact that I was befriending her.
You're watching News Update on Trust TV. Coming up, we take a look at unlawful extortion called marching ground. Details on this and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Trust TV News Update, and here is a recap of our top stories. We brought you Apapa, Labour Party faction calls for arrest of Obi Abure, others over interim national government calls. And Vice President-elect Shettima meets elected APC lawmakers over zoning once against Ranco. Now moving on to more stories. Katsina, a metropolitan city in Nigeria, is currently facing a severe water scarcity crisis due to the rising temperature and lack of super or power supply. The situation has left residents of the city in a state of despair as they struggle to access clean and safe water for their daily needs. Reports say that the water scarcity crisis in Katsina is made worse by the rising heat wave that has hit this city in recent weeks. Jamil Mabaye reports on how residents are struggling to get access to water.
For more than a decade, Aminu Lawal have been buying water for domestic use from vendors at 300 to 500 naira, depending on the demand. Monthly, he spent 9,000 naira while struggling with his low-income business.
There is no government water from Kofar Guga down to this place.
Ajiwa Dam was designed 40 years ago to supply water to 300,000 people within Katsina Metropole. Now it supplies water to over 3 million people, despite the dam's reduction in size and reduced water level. Katsina is facing a severe water scarcity crisis amid rising temperatures. The city has been experiencing a heat wave, with temperatures reaching up to 40 to 45 degrees Celsius.
Every day there must be a high demand of water due to the climate change and weather of Katsina State. As I told you, we say Katsina is a sunny and hot area due to we are closer to Sahara Desert. So if you are in Abuja or if you are in Port Harcourt, you can only take 3 to 4 bottles of water daily. But if you are in Katsina, you can easily take 12 bottles of water daily.
This has led to an increase in demand for water that residents are now resorting to buy from water vendors who charge exorbitant prices.
Because from my own area, Saulawa, to get a water is like getting a gold or diamond. An ordinary jerrycan of water is sold at 70 to 80 naira for each one. Unfortunately, what surprised me is yearly state government spent or injected billions of naira in the name of solving water scarcity or water problem in the state. But unfortunately, nothing changed. My call to the incoming government, they should try as much as possible to make sure that when they injected billions of public funds, so they make sure that the money must be spent judiciously and must be accountable.
Jamil Mabaye reporting for Trust TV News, Katsina.
Land developers in Makurdi are lamenting unlawful extortion called marching ground from local miscreants. Jimmy Adzande reports that a chain of young people organize themselves in every community to carry out the act. The report.
What I understand about marching ground is a relationship between somebody who is coming to stay in the community, is for him to relate with the area people where he's intend to come and stay. And if you are coming to any domain, you will have to go to the chief, and the chief, you will get relationship between you and the chief and that particular area that you want to go and stay.
It is now common in every community, especially new layouts in Makurdi, where land developers are forced to cough out money before they are allowed to build a house. Some residents said it is unlawful and should not be allowed to continue.
Over time, there have been political talks. So when the idea of political talks was subdued and laid to rest, I think they instead of going out of business, they came up with collecting marching ground. So sometimes it's the people in the community, the youth in the community, or sometimes even the community leaders as well, gatekeepers as well, also are in the form of collecting this marching ground at the community level. And as a person who lives in Makurdi and also works in Makurdi, most of the communities that I have worked in or have stayed in Makurdi, the idea of marching ground is a very, it's a concept that brings a community down or takes a community to its lowest. Development doesn't come to those communities.
The residents also said authorities in the state must rise to the occasion and nip it in the bud before it gets out of hand.
I'm one person that I was putting up a structure somewhere in North Bank. They repeatedly come to threaten the workers in the field. And to my greatest surprise, they have the support of our traditional ruler. I don't know where it has started. That thing needs to be discouraged. If we are serious, we need to encourage people who have decided to come and develop our place. Aside from what you pay legally, they come when you are erecting a structure in a site that you must pay that fee. If you have to erect a borehole, you understand they have a specific amount to collect. If that borehole is costing you, I think 400,000, 10% of it must be paid to them. If not, you'll not be able to. We've seen this thing.
There is, however, suspicion that the act is supported by very influential members of the society who play behind-the-scene roles for self-seeking reasons. The residents said if not checked, many land developers will run away from the state capital for their inability to meet up with the marching ground.
Opportunities in the leather tanning value chain are diminishing as the business is facing challenges from several directions. For many years, leather industry in Nigeria have provided jobs for hundreds and thousands of people, but the number are now going low. In this special report, Trust TV's correspondent Idris Jibrin takes a look at the leather value chain and its contribution to the economy of Kano State. The report.
The Nigerian leather value chain typically starts from the farmers who rear the animals, butchers who peeled the animal skin, local agent and service providers who buy and sell the animal skin to traditional or industrial tanneries.
There are two types of goat skin in Nigeria. There is the Sokoto red and Kano brown. They have the best leather quality in the whole of this world. There is nowhere you can find this quality. To the extent that when we used to export it before the port authority or before going through Lagos, it was going through Sahara trade, Trans-Sahara trade, and it goes through Morocco. And when it reaches Europe, they will say Moroccan leather. Okay. But really it is not Moroccan leather, it is Kano leather.
According to experts, Nigeria's leather, mostly sourced from Kano and other states in the northwest, ranks among the highest quality of leather found globally, which is also being exported internationally, with the country generating about $800 million annually.
Before, we used to have a lot of indigenous, but now there are not up to 4 or 3 indigenous, solely indigenous.
That are functioning.
They are functioning and functioning happily.
Not full capacity.
Not full capacity. But the ones that are in full capacity and which tend to get all the support are owned by half Nigerians.
Kano tanneries like this one are the beginning point in the leather producing value chain. The tanneries receives hides and skins that have been stripped from slain animals and take them through the tanning process until they become leather for export or local industrial use.
This business is very lucrative, but the government have to intervene to assist the tanneries, because like this one is a tannery who owned by indigenous. Before, for 10 years or 15 years back, all the tannery were owned by the foreigners, most of them Lebanese and China.
Over the years, however, the leather industry in Kano have been neglected. Many tanneries closed down owing to inadequate capital, the lack of electricity supply, among other challenges.
Nigeria is a country of 200 million people. So if at all we say now we are going to cater for only half of that population to make shoe for them, then you should know that it's a Herculean tax that Nigeria has to face. Because now what we are having now in Nigeria is that we don't have enough capacity to produce for our own country. And that is why there is so much foreign input into Nigeria. And that foreign input into Nigeria is depriving our people from finding job. Like now, there are hundreds of people working in this place. If he has not settled the tannery, nobody will be there.
It's been projected that the Nigerian leather industry will generate over $1 billion by 2025. But experts believe that unless sustainable government intervention is provided, this projection will be far from being achieved. Idris Jubrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And lastly, from the international scene, Sudan's warring army and rapid support forces, paramilitary, will resume talks on Sunday, a senior Saudi diplomat said, as airstrikes and heavy fighting raged overnight around Khartoum, despite an agreement to protect civilians. Saudi Arabia, which has been hosting the talks aimed at securing a ceasefire deal, has also invited Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan to Friday's Arab League summit in Jeddah, the diplomat said. The conflict that broke out suddenly a month ago has killed hundreds, sent more than 200,000 people into neighboring states, displaced another 700,000 inside the country, and risked drawing in outside powers and destabilizing the region. Despite Burhan's invitation to the Jeddah summit, he is not expected to leave Sudan for security reasons, two other diplomats in the Gulf said. Burhan was invited because he is the head of Sudan's Sovereign Council that was meant to be overseeing a planned transition to civilian rule before the conflict erupted, the Saudi diplomat said. And with that, we've come to the end of Trust TV News Update. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thanks for watching.